Yo, welcome to the Weird Perspective Podcast. My name is Darry, the Puerto Rican Poppy on the screen. With me is my co-host, Edwin, a.k.a. Eddie, a.k.a. E-Daddy. What's going on, bruh?
God bless you guys, man. Welcome to another episode. Weird Perspective, y'all.
If this is your first time listening to us, thank you so much for checking us out, man. We really appreciate all the support, all the love. On this podcast, we talk sports, we talk politics, we talk some entertainment, we talk life. We talk about events, we give you the news, but most importantly, we bringing you a biblical worldview. This is the Weird Perspective Podcast. Yeah. Listen, before we dive into anything, I gotta apologize. I misspoke on the last episode. I said that it was episode 8, but it was actually episode 7. So I want to apologize. I'm sorry. I confused anybody, but this is actually episode 8. This is episode 8 for real this time. So yeah, I was listening back to the episode.
We forgive you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate them. I was listening back to the episode. I was like, man, no, I think this is. I just had the numbers mixed up, but sometimes it be like that, man. You know, we still learning in this podcast game, man. So sometimes people mess up, man. You know what I'm saying? But so I got some good news. The U.S. will end the COVID requirements for air traveling entering into the States, man.
Yeah, hand clap for that, man. Hand clap for that.
Man, we gotta clap it up for real, bro. I know it's been a struggle for the people that's been traveling like that travel, you know, to other countries and they gotta come back in. I've heard some horror stories. Yeah. But the CDC, they put out a statement. So I'm gonna read this real quick. As of 12 a.m. on June 12th, 2022, the CDC will no longer require air passengers traveling from foreign countries to the United States to show a negative COVID-19 viral test or document of recovery from COVID-19 before they board their flight. The CDC has the ability to reassess the order at any time and potentially reinstate it, especially if a new variant develops or poses concern. So that's really good news, man, for the people out there traveling. I know a couple people who told me some horror stories of them having to quarantine for like 2-3 weeks. They couldn't even go to it was crazy. So shout outs to that. Finally, it looked like this thing may be coming to an end, man. God willing. Yeah. God willing.
And definitely, you know what, a little side disclaimer on that. I know that we bring up the CDC, we bring up COVID, and then we get the sensitive group on one side. So obviously, we applaud right, the CDC making this move, right? It's obviously not an inconvenience, but it was done for the purpose of looking out for our health and make sure everybody's healthy and everything. So definitely you don't want to be like insensitive, right, to that group that takes it really serious, or maybe families that were affected or maybe lost family members or whatever the case may be. But hey, if the CDC is laying down the new, taking down the guidelines and think it's safe enough, and we're gonna roll with that and definitely move forward. I know I'm not gonna miss it personally, but I definitely want to say that disclaimer because I know that there are some people, right, that maybe they lost a family member or something like that too. COVID.
We definitely don't want to. We don't want to be like insensitive, and I wasn't saying it in a way that
not at all. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Disheartening, but I mean, it's been a big thing like that. It's put a lot of people in a lot of inconvenience in situations because they had to quarantine. They had no symptoms, but they had a test, and it was a whole thing. Some of them couldn't even go to their house. Like they couldn't come back into the country, and it messed up a lot of things. So, we appreciate our country, man, as much as divided as this country is. And we know that I don't agree with everything that goes on in this country, nor do you. But I think for the most part, sometimes it is a little wonky, but I do think that a lot of times they have good intentions, right? And it just gets played out. sometimes it's weird. But I mean, we could talk about that on another episode or something.
Definitely.
But we want to get into by the way, man, at the time of this recording, it is Father's Day. So happy Father's Day, bro.
Likewise, man. I appreciate it, man.
Let's see, I got my dad shirt on. I don't know if they can see it in the camera. Whoever's listening to this on Spotify, you're not going to be able to see it, but
I see it.
Man, we ain't do much today, bro. We just hung out, bro. Went to church, came back to the crib, went to go get some food. We went to this chicken and waffle spot in Oak Park, and then I just came home and was relaxed.
Man, that sounds so good, though.
Just came home and was relaxed. Just kicked my feet up and was just relaxing, bro.
Right.
So
I mean, do you see Father's Day going any other way? It's like, can we just eat and chill?
We just want to eat and chill. That's literally Father's Day. I know the mothers, they want to go out and get their hair done, nails done, everything did, all that stuff. But the fathers, we be like, look, for me especially, like, I just shave my head. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Throw a shirt on, some pants, and I'm out the door. I don't need to go do any of that stuff, man. So I just want to chill. I just literally just be want to relax, get some good food, watch a good movie. Luckily, ain't no sports on, because if the finals were still going on, I'd be just chilling, like trying to watch the finals. I don't be want to do much, man. It's Father's Day. I just want to chill. It was a beautiful day outside, 80-something degrees. So it was a nice day here in Chicago, man. I ain't hear no bad news. So shout out to all the fathers. I hope your wives, girlfriend, significant other took care of you today. It was just our day, man. And I don't think, Father's Day is one of them days where, because of the negative view of fatherhood in America, it's kind of one of them days, like, it's just like, it's not like a big thing. Yeah. Like Mother's Day, man, everything revolves around Mother's Day. They get a sermon, right? They get the whole spread at the church service, right? Then they get shelter. I mean, they get what's the word I'm talking about? Pampered. Yeah, pampered, gifts, whatever they want. The whole weekend is like about the mothers.
I was gonna say, usually it's like the whole weekend.
It's like the whole weekend. We get like 12 hours.
Yeah, if that, dude,
like 12 hours. And then they do it like, look, just take what you can get for this time, because when Monday come, it ain't no more. Man. Like, so we gotta like will it in. Like, all right, let me get this. Like, man, like, can we just be served on our day? That's all we ask, man. We just want a little bit of, just a little bit of tender love and care on our day. Some good food, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's all good. But shout out to all the fathers there, man.
Definitely.
That's the real, really taking care of their kids. And man, shout out to the fathers who going through rough times. You know what I'm saying? Divorces, and they not being able to see their kids, and they really want to, and they got to fight through the system to make that happen. So my prayers definitely are with you. And man, I pray that the Lord will be done on your behalf, man, so that you can actually, do what's in your heart, and that's raise your kids up, man. So
definitely. But
moving on, we're going to talk about some sports. Y'all already know how we do it, man.
Hey.
And so, first thing first, this has been unfortunate, man. This has been going on. A lot of people have been talking about it. Well, not really. The Brittany Gardner situation.
I agree. They haven't really elaborated on it. It's just kind of been part of their...
It's been like now I think a lot more people are coming out to speak out about it because... she's been over there in Russia. For those of you guys who don't know, I'm gonna just dive into this. But Brittany Gardner, she's still locked up in Russia, right? It's been like 123, 24 days, something like that. About 4 months that she's been over there. And so for those of you who are listening to this who don't know who Brittany Gardner is, she's a WNBA player, 7-time All-Star, 2-time defensive champion, defensive player of the year. And right now she is in Russia, in Russia's custody after she was detained at an airport because they found one of those vape pens in her luggage. And so she's under investigation. The one report that I read said she was under investigation for a large amount of transporting drugs into their country, and that sentence can carry up to 10 years in jail.
That's ridiculous.
That's according to the New York Times. My question is, because there's other reports, a whole lot of other reports that came out And my question is why is she being investigated? If they only found one vape pen with some weed oil in there, why is she being investigated for bringing in a large amount? Like the New York Times article said, it was a large amount.
Yeah.
She goes over there and she plays for Russia, I think in the off season, to stay active. You know, the WNBA get treated like redheaded stepchild when it comes to comparison to the NBA players. We probably could talk about that in another episode. But right now, just staying on topic, they got her in jail. She hasn't been able to make no phone calls. There's been a lot of stuff going on that she's been being mistreated. So that would be my question, right? And then just today, I came across another article from Sports Illustrated that Roy Jones is getting involved. Now, everybody know who Roy Jones Jr. is. He has a special place in my heart. We're gonna get to that later when we talk about the boxing. But he just came out today, and he's pushing for her to come home. And then he says that he's even willing to go over there and bring and escort her home himself. He's a citizen. He has dual citizenship. So he's a United States citizen and a citizen in Russia. I did not know that about Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day. So he's himself is willing to go over and fly to Moscow himself, escort her back home, willing to put his life on the line to exchange, to do this swap or whatever they want to do with these things. And so I thought that was pretty dope for Roy Jones to, put himself out there. He said he would want somebody to do that for him, if it was his daughter, or if he was stuck over somewhere. So
and I think a lot of the
pretty cool,
right? Like the brotherhood within the NBA, I think a lot of them are pushing and being more active, right? And pushing more like an activist approach to it, to protest, that something has to be done. So we've seen like the Boston Celtics, right? They coming out with, a public declaration, to bring Brittany Griner home. And we've seen recently where Steph Curry mentioned it in one of his press conferences. So it's important. I mean, I think that's the route you go, especially when it's a real touchy subject, right? We're talking about a whole nother country, right? Especially one that we obviously are not like on the best terms with right now.
Not on the best terms with at all.
Oh
bro.
My God! After everything that's is going on with Ukraine, and I mean it's unfortunate. I think our government has to put their foot down and has to. I mean they have to throw their chips in. That's one of our citizens. Obviously, we're going to treat her as we would any other human being, right? Any one of our citizens. But more importantly, obviously, she has some type of public importance, right? As far as being a celebrity or a basketball player, it just hides the priority. So
do you think it would be different if, say, if it was LeBron James that was stuck in Russia? Do you think it'd be more of the public, the NBA, even politicians and other companies that does business with him getting involved, like Nike and Gatorade and whoever else he's endorsed by? Do you think that those people will be like, no, we got to bring LeBron James home? Like, do you think it'd be more of an outcry from the public because he's a male in a very popular sport like the NBA?
Yeah, he's one of the biggest public figures. The answer is yes, and I think just from personal experience, right, working for a political office and knowing how some of these politics work, and I mean, we've all seen it in the open eye, right, as far as countries go, as far as how politics works in government. I definitely think it would be a different scenario, and I think there would be a higher priority and more of an urge and a push. Definitely feel like there would be more being done at this point. Definitely.
So the fact that she only had like a small little bit, right, of weed, it's a lot of people on our side that's like, hey man, she needs to be let go. Some people I even heard saying, man, they're denying her like her human rights and this like that. And it's like, man, I hear what those people saying, like weed's legal here in America. Like they're making a big deal out of that. It was just a small little vape pen. And I hear them, right? If she was coming into America, she wouldn't be in jail at all.
Yeah.
But the fact that she's going into another country, man, other countries have different laws. They treat things different.
Yeah.
And my only thing that I would say is that you have to know what country you're going into. You have to know, the different cultural dynamics, and you have to know the laws. Yeah. Because we get comfortable here in America and things and the freedoms that we have. Right. You can't go to other countries. I just found out that in China, you can't do this. You can't throw a thumbs up in China.
Yeah.
That's like an insult on a high level. They don't play those games. Yeah. And I was like, what? They're like, you can't be in China. You can't go in a courtroom and be throwing thumbs up because you'll be put in jail or even killed or something culture. Like that. And I was
that's a good point. It's a very good point that you're bringing up.
And so I'm like, man, and so as much as I think that, she did get caught with the weed and they got a certain jail sentence or whatever that she got to serve. It's like, hey, you made a mistake, but this is their law. You're in their custody. Even though you're a United States citizen, if you break a law in another country, he's like, oh, here come America. Like, hey, let her go. I mean, if somebody came over here to America and they broke one of our laws, they'll get put in jail. Right. And there was even a story that went along with this. The two individuals, Paul Whelan, I think his name is, and Trevor Reed, they were arrested in 2018 and 2019, and the Russian government made it clear that, like, releasing those two Russian prisoners, that they would that America had to set them free. And then they did like a whole trade. It was like one prisoner for another prisoner. It was all these other things. So
right.
It's people saying like, oh man, she's being held hostage and things like that. And it's just like, hey, look, she's in another country. And just unfortunately, I don't know what like the international laws is for people who are visiting and stuff like that. But this ain't her first rodeo in Russia. She's been to Russia many times. And so going over into Russia, knowing what's going on, they're at war. They have stricter laws when it comes to bringing drugs in. We got to make sure we're on our best behavior. We go to another country. We need to know, like, if I get caught with this or if I do this and this, they can hold me in jail. And then I'm popped. Ain't nothing I can do. Yeah. And so I want to see her come home, right? I hope that they're treating her, they're feeding her and, they're not, she ain't in some dungeon just in the dark being, bogus, but hopefully she's being fed. She's able to, be clean and they're not just treating her bogus. But this is the things that we have to make sure we protect ourselves from as, American citizens traveling into another foreign country. We got to know the laws, right? Yeah. And we can't get careless. I'm pretty sure she probably just forgot she had it in her bag. She wasn't trying to like smuggle some drugs in because I'm gonna try to sell it.
Well, it depends. Some of the reports are saying significant amount of narcotics. So it's like, anywhere you go, really, right? If you cross in any country
with drugs, they're gonna be like,
right, it's illegal. So
they hitting you with the scorpion. Get over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Snatching you up. So
the law is coming down. The belt's gonna get taken off. So
man, I hope that this all gets cleared up, man. And that she's treated fairly in this, and that it comes to
then you start thinking like, what if there is mistreatment? What's the government gonna do then?
What can they do? Are we gonna go to war for like one person?
There's no
like,
way.
Even if, I don't care if it is like LeBron James. Like if you broke the law, like technically, right? I'm just speaking technically, you broke their laws. You're entering into their country with drugs or whatever. That's a penalty. They have a penalty, sentencing, whatever they do. Yeah. What is America supposed to do? Man, it's LeBron James. We love our basketball, so now you're gonna go to bat for him. Or what if it was me? I'm nobody, right? Like anybody gonna say the same thing for me? Right. It's Darry, man. Nobody cares. I ain't even gonna make the news if I get arrested in Russia.
Right. Just because she has some type of public,
she has. So she
carries some weight.
Should she get treated? What's the word? She got more this is the word that I hate to use. What is it? Oh man,
favoritism or
her privilege. Celebrity privilege.
Yeah.
We talk about like white privilege and all these other privileges, right? So celebrity privilege right now for her because she's in the headlines, she's in the news, right? People are talking about it. So even a boxer that just made the Hall of Fame is like, I'm gonna go over there. I'm a member. Yeah. He's a citizen of Russia. I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna bring her home, and whatever he can do to help, he says he's willing to do it. So that's some.
Yeah. And that proves the point what I was trying to say earlier. Like the political influence, definitely could play a big part in that. I mean, politics always has something. All these backdoor meetings and trade discussions and negotiations, like definitely. I mean, something got to give, and you know that politically something can be done to influence this to move along. I mean, unfortunate, right, that we have to talk like that, but that's what it is, right?
We ain't the only ones talking about it. It's public news. Big newspapers are talking about this stuff. Like Russia might try to use this to make America give them something in return to release her. Who knows, right? Yeah. This can go real left.
But it falls on, right, like you said, it falls on us. It falls on whoever. The individual has to carry that responsibility and knowing exactly where you're. Like, best believe I'm taking my family to Cancun. I'm going over everything that can go right. Mm-hmm. And if anything could go wrong, like, we had that pep talk with the kids. Like,
don't go running off. Don't go around the corner somewhere you get kidnapped and all this other stuff.
Like, you need something, tug on us. We'll talk. We'll do the talking. It's like,
the dude that look real nice, but he wants to give you a private tour. Nah, we're going with him, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, all these things are true. All these things.
You know what? I got a side just to kind of wrap this. I got a side. I had an experience with a Russian guy. I was waiting for my metro. One day it was in the winter, waiting for a metro, and it was like fall. I'm sorry, it was like fall. Where it was cold and still like some flurries or whatever. I remember it being a day. It was a morning, obviously, about 8 a.m. And I literally, because I used to jog, believe it or not, I used to jog to the metro, like maybe 5 blocks. I used to jog there just because I was I was a big exercise guy. I used to just jog for fun just to get to the train and get my body active in the morning. Nevertheless, I get there, right? I'm waiting for my train, and casually, right? I got my headphones in just like I do right now. I spit on the floor. Some guy, literally like a minute later, some huge guy, Russian guy, with one of those fur hats, the ones they wear over there in their country.
Yeah.
Those big fur hats.
Like Khabib be wearing when he come out?
Yeah, one of those. Yeah, one of those. He was just like, no, it's one of the winter ones. But still, they wear them like commonly over there. So it's real big and real obvious. And he's like, why you do that? Like he came into my face. They were like right here. He's like, why you do that? Like real mean face. I'm like, I took my headphone on, like, what? And I look at him, he's like, why you do that? I'm like, I'm spitting on the floor. But in their country, it's an offense. You can't do that. Man, I got on the train, I was Googling stuff. I'm like, what's up with this dude? Like, why did he have such an issue with me spitting on the floor? And obviously my baseball days, right? They say baseball players are spitters or whatever, right? But nevertheless, I had that experience, and now that we're talking about, right, like different countries hold different standards, and and this is just different lifestyles that just don't fly. Like we have the luxury of being free here and all these little things, right?
Nevertheless, I would never known that, though. That's a good thing to know. Now, when I get to Rush, I'm gonna make sure like I spin the cup or something.
Man, but you know what though? Hey, ever since that moment, it changed my life. I swear. Like if I'm not playing sports, like on a baseball field or something like that, and I'm just like sitting around like a group of people, I am not spitting on no floor.
I'm gonna see somebody spit on the ground. I'm gonna be like, "Hey, man, this is God's earth. Yeah. You don't spit on that."
Yeah, but I just like I learned from it. I'm like, man, I want to be sensitive, right? somebody feels like that's an offense or whatever, like I don't want to offend nobody.
Hey, man, we got to become all things, man, to all men, bro.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
But that's cool, man. But we wish Brittany Gardner the best in her situation, and pray that she gets back to America and her family safe and sound, man. So, but let's move on to a much more funner topic, though.
Yeah.
Yo, let's talk about these finals. The Golden State Warriors,
let's go,
are the NBA champions once again, 4 times, bro. Beating the Boston Celtics on their home court, 103-90, bro.
Yeah,
man,
it was fun, man. Definitely fun. I caught bits and pieces, but I made sure to catch the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. I wanted to see how it ended. It definitely got close in that fourth quarter. So I just wanted to make sure I watched it live, and but I loved
it was a good game. So I
it.
watched the last 3 minutes of the second quarter, and then half of the third, and all of the fourth. But it was, man, Steph Curry was on a mission, bro. He dropped 34 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. He was 6 of 11 from 3-point range. Bro was on his thing, man. He was on a mission. And he finally got that finals MVP that everybody been holding against him, saying that, he can they can't put him in the great category because he doesn't have a finals MVP.
Yeah.
Where are you, man? Where are you at with Steph Curry now that he's a 4-time NBA champion and a finals MVP? Where does he rank among the GOATs?
He's creeping up there, man. Definitely, I say around top 20-ish, top 20, give or take. Maybe even top 15. I haven't really looked at all the numbers, but I know we've talked on it briefly. He's definitely up there, only because you start looking at certain players that kind of influence and change the dynamic of the NBA game. And his game definitely has done that in this era. I never thought we'd see, somebody with that talent, where you got to pick up at half court, and this dude is shooting he's shooting like a regular jumper, from 40 feet
and walking away, knowing it's going in.
And turning.
He already walking down the court before the ball in the air, man.
And then he does it like if he's just joking and playing around, there ain't no effort to it. So
it's just another day at the park for him, man. So,
but I loved it. I saw his averages. Obviously, I wanted to pull it up real quick. 30 and a half points he averaged, right? 5 rebounds and 6 assists for the finals, and he's up there with Jordan, and the bigger names for finals, the statistics. So that's awesome, man. You know what? We got to give him his flowers now, man. I mean, he's done it being an undersized position player for an NBA player. So definitely got to give him the props he deserves.
Yeah. I now rank Curry above Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And here's my reasons why. Kevin Durant only has 2 rings. Curry got 4. And both of KD rings came with being part of Stephen Curry's team. I know KD might have been the best player on those teams.
Yeah.
But it was Steph Curry's team. Steph Curry sacrificing, letting KD do his thing, and I'm a fall back and let KD have the shine.
Yeah.
Right. I believe that. I know KD got 2 of the Finals MVPs, and then they gave one to Iguodala, but I think probably Curry should have had that one instead of Iguodala.
Yeah,
Iguodala was a key in that in those games, but without Curry they don't win.
Yeah.
Without Curry,
and
even
they
don't win.
Even the MVPs that Durant got, I looked up the stats on those as well. I think on one of the finals, KD, he averaged 27 and a half points, and Curry was at 26 or 25 and a half points. So it's literally, the numbers are still pretty even. He was neck and neck. It could have gone either way, but obviously KD hitting maybe the bigger buckets or kind of closing out maybe hitting a big shot to kind of close the game.
I think it plays so much in that voting stuff. I think him being probably at the time being just as big of a name, him coming to this new team, right? His talent.
And he was taking over. He was being considered, the best player over LeBron at that moment. I think
at that point in time.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about him this year in these playoffs. Talking about KD. In game 1, he only had 23 points. Game 2, he had 27. He had 27 points. Game 3, he had 16 points. And then he did his thing in game 4 with 39 points. But they still got swept. Yeah. And he had one of the best guards to play the game right now in Kyrie Irving on his team. And they couldn't get one game. Yeah. And in the very first series, they got swept.
Yeah.
I think it made me dip when I started looking into that. I dipped him on the list, but I had to bring Curry up. Now he still has the opportunity to redeem himself and to come back and do things. I still think on a talent overall, I think KD is the better player. But we talking about where these two players rank on the all-time list. I have to give it to Steph Curry because he has 4 rings. He's been on the same team his whole career. KD's now on his 3rd team.
Yeah.
Right. And then in the other teams, bro, they lost a 3-1 lead and it was all these other things. And they had a pretty stacked up team and they couldn't get it done. And now again, this year he gets swept and it's like, yeah, I can't, and I can't, like, he gotta show me something. And I think that the Golden State Warriors will possibly win another ring. If not this year, coming up next year, if they make the right pieces and people stay healthy, they'll be right there. But the league's gonna be different if people stay healthy and changes and all that stuff. So I think it's gonna be even more competitive. So I think I'm looking forward to next year when this starts. But man, shout out to Curry, man.
Not sure, was it you? Not to cut you off, but was it you that was talking to about? You think about the Warriors and how they built their team and their organization, and the way they literally can plug and play any player, literally rookies. But the way they hold a certain standard of right practice habits and how they develop their players to the point where it's literally they brought Otto Porter that was playing for the Bulls, plugged them into their system, helped them understand his role, and literally, like, the dude was like amazing. Same thing with Wiggins, right? He was just like a journeyman, like an awesome athletic wing player that can score but not consistently score. And then they turned him and used all of his like strengths and fine-tuned it and then plugged them into their system. But it goes to tell you that, man, a system, an organization, and building all these different facets of an organization, like practice habits and development, being invested in each and every aspect of the game for a team literally makes so much of a difference. Like, you can see them sustaining this for another 10 years if they kept, let's say Steve Kerr decided to just keep coaching, right? And the other thing I was going to say is that we have to credit, right, Steve Kerr. He's amazing, dude. Like, he came from obviously, right, all these bigger name coach, like Coach Popovich,
Phil Jackson. He's been under great
coaches,
man. So two of Pop's coaches, the other guys he's from the Popovich tree as well. So
Udoka.
Pop, man, he got that knowledge, bro.
Yeah. I heard I got a buddy too. He's a heavy, like, he's all into sports and has his own he makes sole inserts, right? Soles for shoes and stuff like that. He brought that up to me. He brought up that the Warriors actually have a system in place in their practice facility where they only count your shots if you're hitting all net. Like, it can't hit no part of the rim. Like, they have different little things like that set up in their practice facility.
Wow.
To push and motivate, right, players and get the best potential and make it, literally you're practicing perfection. So imagine that translating onto real games. Like, I've never heard of any other team like implementing it. Maybe it does exist in other teams, but I mean, it's just crazy to think, like, we ain't counting your shot unless you're hitting this specific shot.
Nothing but that, bro.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's like, that shot don't count. Like, it rattled a little bit. That doesn't count. Like, what? I hit the shot. Like,
man, that's
sorry, bro.
That's definitely challenging. Practice was supposed to be 2 hours. We even hit 5 hours
because you can't hit it all net.
You can't hit it all net, bro. So, but that makes you practice on your form, accuracy, everything, man. So,
but you think about that, you think Curry, right? His work ethic and the way you see him translate that into the game. This dude's hitting, like, sometimes it's like the net don't even move. It's like,
and how he transformed his body, bro, putting on 15 pounds of muscle because he knew the workload. Or the workload for him was going to be more. He was willing to take on that challenge.
Right.
Be stronger so he can get to the rim because he's going to be getting knocked down, get able to, get back up. So I just take my hat off to that team, bro. I'm a Chicago guy, as you know. I don't really root for other teams, but I might have to go grab a Golden State Warriors hat, bro.
Yeah.
I might have to. It might have to be like a white one with like a blue brim so I could wear something blue.
Yeah. I mean, there's some fresh
jersey. I ain't gonna get no jersey. Or nothing,
there's some fresh hats out there, man. So
I might have to grab some Currys too, man. I might have to grab some Currys, man.
Actually, I was talking to that same buddy. I was asking him about the Curry Sixes. Because I was feeling them. He made his Curry Sixes off of was it Infinity or Lexus? I think it was Infinity or Lexus. He made that shoe based off the concept of
one of the cars.
One of the cars. Yeah. Super cool. I was watching it on YouTube. I decided to ask my buddy because he's all into all these shoes. Like, he writes reviews on them. He tries different shoes and stuff. I'm like, dude, what do you think about it? He's like, one of the best shoes. But he's like, you know what? You haven't seen the new ones yet. You need to check the new ones out. They're even better.
Yeah, because Curry went back to the old shoes. He said because they had some tech in there that was real good for the ankles and stuff. So he went back to playing in the old ones. He didn't even play in the new shoes in these playoffs. So
that's awesome. Oh, the purple ones, right?
Yeah. He kept going back to the purple one. So shout out to Curry, man, and the Golden State Warriors on another championship. Definitely. And I look forward to watching them, man. Some more good basketball in the future. But I want to talk about Jason Tatum. And I almost, in preparing for this show, thinking about this, I almost just reneged on everything I said. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go to the extreme because I realized that he's still really young.
He's too early.
He's 24. I think he's going to be 25 soon. Still a young dude. And my biggest thing that I don't like is that he went 11 points. I was like, okay, he gonna put on the show tonight. Yeah. And he only scored 2 points in the second half of an elimination game. I know people say, he might be injured or he's dealing with fatigue, but so is everybody else, bro. It's the finals.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that stuff, bro. Jordan and them, call us old if y'all want, all you young dudes. Jordan played 78 games plus all of the years unless he was injured.
Yeah. He
always minimum 78 games plus the playoffs.
Yeah.
So everybody's tired. You know what I'm saying? I can't imagine.
We seen Kobe play with a
he's shooting free throws, bro, in pain, Achilles, ankles dangling.
He's shooting,
and he's supposed to be discipled by Kobe. Like, Kobe was his mentor. And so I just was like, bro, like, you got to just put everything that you got into this right now. He started making turnovers, started
missing
looking at the refs.
Man, you look at so many
missing free throws. You're looking at the ref, trying to look for calls. Dude, play the game to win, bro. Leave it all on the court. So I did lose a little bit of respect for Jason Tatum. I know he'll get back, but I was very disappointed in him, bro, watching his performance in that second half of that game.
Yeah.
2 points, man. I think the team had like 20-some turnovers.
Yeah.
I think it was like 22 turnovers. It was crazy amount of turnovers that they had. And I think he had like 6 of them. So it was just a really bad performance on his part. He's supposed to be the best player on the team.
Yeah.
That's those moments, man, where it's like, pressure bust pipes.
Yeah.
This is what make people the GOAT. You will never see Jordan, Kobe, Allen Iverson, any of these dudes, right? 2 points in the second half of an elimination game.
No chance.
It's not happening. Jordan gonna be smacking people.
Yeah, if I still got a left hand, y'all better watch it.
Like, man, you know what I'm saying? So it was disappointing, man. But I take my hat off to them dudes in Boston. They fought a good fight. And man, I should have clicked on that link you sent me and made a bet because I was right. Golden State in 6.
Yeah, you were.
Should have just betted the money, bro. Man, I have some decent amount of cheddar cheese in my pocket right now. But
yeah, you know what? I think he was injured. I mean, not to give it an excuse. Made me think of my personal experience, right? I played like college level baseball. I have a torn what do you call that?
Rotator cuff you had?
Yeah, I have a tear in there in my throwing shoulder. I've had it for like the last 5 years, give or take. When I went to play, just like in men's leagues, right, with college level kind of players, casual teams, right, rec ball. I had an incident, right, very early in the injury. I didn't know that it was torn or anything. That in a game, I was trying, like I was warmed up and everything. I was throwing, and obviously you have to lift up this shoulder and then throw right down to second base as a catcher. I had a game where after the second throw, I couldn't do this no more. So it just made me think of that because he kept putting, Jason Tatum kept putting tape around his shoulder area. He had a lot of different, whatever he was going on. It made me think of that. Like, man, what if he's going through something like that? Where, once you get to this point, the pain hits. Oh man, it's tough to deal with. Like I went like this after a few throws. Literally, I told the coach, like, man, I literally can't throw for the rest of the game. Like, I'm gonna catch the game. I'm gonna play through it. I'll hit and everything. But literally, the moment I lift my shoulder, the pain hits, and it literally had to throw my shoulder back down, and like it feels like a pressure on my shoulder. And literally, like, kind of not numbs you, but you kind of feel that like fatigue over your body because you're trying to like make up for it. But it made me think of that. Not to give an excuse, I know, but we've seen so many great players, right? And we want to put Jason Tatum on that level. We've seen so many great players play through worse injuries, and definitely feel like he had some more to give, and definitely could have shown.
He was my second pick for MVP for the season. So, but
I don't remember us talking about that. But okay,
I had him number 2.
Okay.
Just because of he was doing some big things. But yeah, man.
Definitely.
Sorry, Beantown. I've been enjoying all the ESPN debates though. They've been fun listening to them all week. It's been hilarious. But let's get into this last segment before we dive into our main topic, and then we want to talk about something that we've never talked about on this show before, and it's boxing.
Yeah.
Right. The Boxing Hall of Fame just happened last Saturday now. And a couple of the people who we really look up to in the sport were entered into the Hall of Fame. Just to name a few of them, it's Bernard Hopkins, Shane Mosley, Floyd, Andre Ward, Layla Ali, Roy Jones Jr., Miguel Cotto, just to name a few guys, and a woman that entered into the Boxing Hall of Fame. I didn't even know it was like a big thing for the Boxing Hall of Fame. But they were really blowing this one up. So I was like, man, let me look at this list. And then sure enough, I see, three of my guys on here that I have a lot of respect, I admire. So you guys know, my all-time favorite boxer is Roy Jones Jr. Mm-hmm. I feel like pound for pound in his prime, nobody was beating him. Nobody. The hand speed, the power, just the flash, everything, man, the creativity, knocking people out with one arm behind his back, like the whole nine, man. And I hated to see him take that plunge late in his career when he started to lose. But shout out to Roy Jones, man. He had 66 wins, 47 knockouts. I think he has the most knockouts on this list with 47. 9 losses, and 5 of those losses came by knockout.
That was towards the end of his career.
That was towards the end of his career. He was just overweight, just slower, just shouldn't have been fighting at that point in time. Yeah. Miguel Cotto, 41 wins, 33 knockouts, 6 losses, 2 of those by KO. That's your boy right there.
Yeah, definitely. I think he ranks, I'm gonna talk from Puerto Rico's perspective, right? We've had a lot of greats.
The Poricuas, though.
Yeah. We've had a lot of greats. I think he might rank probably 3 or 4th best all time. But as far as so my top, I would say my top 5 Puerto Rican boxers of all time would be Carlos Ortiz, Wilfredo Gomez, Wilfredo Benitez, Miguel Cotto, and Felix Trinidad. That would be my top 5, man. But Felix Trinidad and Miguel Cotto kind of interchangeably, because I feel like as far as athleticism and skills, I feel like Miguel Cotto can easily be like maybe 2 or even 1. Just because I feel like Puerto Rican fighters, for some odd freaking reason, they have 1 or 2 skills they do great, and I feel like they never put it all together. It's like they get by like Felix Trinidad for some reason. He was real long, like quick, long, but he was known for his left hook, but could never really have a tight defense. He made he had bad habits of not making adjustments in fights, and it was like,
that's how I feel about Danny Garcia.
Oh yeah, definitely. And he's Puerto Rican. I mean, obviously he's from I think he's from Philadelphia or whatever.
Yeah,
or
he's
New York.
From New York somewhere. But yeah, he is like, man, can I see a fight where you put all your skills? He like leaving skills at the crib. Like, I'm only gonna have these skills tonight. And it's
the
like,
same. Yeah. It's like they get too comfortable with their skills instead of like trying to get better, like add stuff to their fight. Their fights is like, nah, I got this,
Yeah.
But he's another one. One thing I would say about him though, his chin up to this point is one of the best I've seen so far. I mean, there's still a few guys that he can still fight, but he's had some really, like Keith Thurman, right? Sean Porter, like he's eaten all their best shots. So up to this point, I give him credit. His chin is one of the best I've seen as far as Puerto Rican fighters.
What's up? Every fight that I've watched with you, and I've watched probably like 5 or 6 Miguel Cotto fights with you. Why this dude be leaving a fight so bloody? I ain't never seen him leave the fights clean, bro. He be bleeding like all the time, bro. Eyes swollen, dots. I'm like, yo, this dude be just taking the beating, and then like his wife be like, I bet she be at the crib like, look, I ain't coming to no more your fights. He be just leaving beat up, even in the fights that he like wins, he dominates. I'm like, he's bleeding. I don't know if he's one of them people that just bleed easy, but man,
you know what? I think he was such a huge name, but they waited too long to put him in there with the biggest names. Like when he fought Pacquiao, like that was like 2 or 3 years overdue. Like he probably would have shown a better fight a few years prior, but they put him in there, dude. And we're talking about, I mean, Pacquiao even at 40 is still fresh, but this dude, like knowing you got to fight Pacquiao, like you probably had to do some extra, like some another level type endurance and
all
these
fitness, because Pacquiao Pacquiao I say he got Dragon Ball Z legs. So I don't know if you the characters in Dragon Ball Z, they legs be looking like
it's super
be super swole legs.
Yeah.
And that's how Pacquiao, especially his calves, bro. This dude's calves are huge. Like he just be running around on his tippy toes all day, just massive calves. But he be doing this. Yeah, they probably waited too long. Same I feel about Floyd and some of his fights. Floyd made the list, 50 wins, only 27 knockouts.
Yeah.
Only 27 knockouts. I was like,
wow.
I didn't realize that his knockout count was that low. Andre Ward, 32 wins, 32 fights, 16 knockouts, no losses. So him and Floyd are undefeated in their career. Very low knockout counts. About half of their fights, they were only knocking people out. Andre Ward, though, I give him over Floyd is that he fought. He was a super technical, sound boxer. I mean, when we watched that fight, he fought the Russian dude. I can't think of his name right now. It starts with a K. You know what I'm talking about. And we thought he was going to lose that fight. And then you were saying it. Yeah, you were saying, you were like, no, he's going to win for points. And I'm like, what you mean points? Like, he was getting tagged up, but he was doing little punches and doing those little things to get those points. And he won. And I was like, oh, snap. And then you watch the fight again and you start to see the things that he did and the counters and everything like that. And I was like, oh, wow. So it was good. Andre Ward, man, super smooth, just quiet, bro. And he's a believer. So shout out to him.
Yeah.
Layla Ali, a woman, another one. She's undefeated, 24 wins, 21 knockouts.
Yeah. And I think this is the first year that a woman's been inducted. So that's definitely a milestone, right?
A father and his daughter. You know, that's Muhammad Ali's daughter. So shout out to her. And she when fighting, doing her thing, and she's still beautiful.
Yeah.
And I don't know what her age is, but you be fighting and you getting in there, you getting hit up in the face, but she's still beautiful. So
I think
I
think she's about 40.
She got to be in like her mid 40s because obviously she's older than us. So
I think she might be 42, maybe 40, 42,
something like that. But man, so Shane Mosley, 49 wins, 41 knockouts, 10 losses, 1 draw. Bernard Hopkins, 56 wins, 32 knockouts, 8 losses, 2 draws. So those are some of the guys that we've actually seen fight in our time. And man, shout out to them dudes. It was a pretty good class.
Well deserved. One of the hottest class, Hall of Fame classes for boxing. Anytime you put Roy Jones and Mayweather in the same sentence.
The speeches were good. Floyd, I ain't never seen Floyd cry, but he's like a whole new Floyd, man. He grew his hair, he got beard and stuff. It was just like, but he was emotional.
He's showing a little bit more humility at this point of his life.
Layla Ali said that she was there when he did the first one and he was real emotional, whatever. That she said, but in the next day that they were doing some type of press conference or something, he was right back to Money Mayweather all over again. Like, so he's like, I'm gonna give y'all this one moment, see me cry. After that, I'm back to talking about Bentleys and how much money I got and all this other stuff. So but I mean, that's Floyd, man. He ain't never switch up. So shout out to him for staying true to who he is, I guess. But let's talk about what we're here to talk about tonight, man. And our main topic, we're gonna be talking about real love. Real love.
Hey,
I'm searching for some real love. Let's not quit our day jobs, man.
Straight up.
But we're gonna dive into real love. Like, what does it mean to really love someone? Right? What does that look like in our world, in our society? We got so many people that's they make love like conditional. Like, I love you because like you love me, or I love you because you did these nice things for me. Or you got people that think like love is it's the butterflies in the stomach, it's the goosebumps feeling the hair standing up when she walk in the room or when he walk in the room, or it's it's everything but an action word, according to the world. So today we want to talk about real love from a biblical perspective, right?
Yeah.
And so,
and how that looks, right, versus the world's view on it.
So you got how God tells us to love and what his definition of love and how he displayed love to us. Mm-hmm. And then you have what the world tells us and all these things, man, that if, you hold people accountable, they take it as you're hating on them, or you don't really love them because you're giving them hard truths and you're telling them about things that they need to do better, or you want to help them grow in certain areas that they don't, that they're not real good in. And people take that as like, nah, you coming at me, you don't really love me. So we're going to talk about that today. So what is the biblical perspective of love? And so 1 John, we'll kick this off with 1 John chapter 4, verse 8 says, he who does not love does not know God, for God is love. Very, 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 very powerful and direct verse, right? And so when we think about love, it's easy to think about with good feelings, but real love is not dependent on feelings. It's not about so much more than how I feel about someone, whether it is like romantic love, a member, my family, a friend, co-worker. So often love is given and received based on what myself get out of it, right? Like we base love on, I'll love them, but what they gonna do in return, Yeah. But what do I do when it costs me something to love someone? Right? That's what we see in the Bible. How does the Bible tell us to love? It's not about getting something in return, but it's about what we give out. Mm-hmm. So we want to speak to that tonight. Yeah, powerful verses. I know you got some verses that you want to share. You want to get into. Any of them line up with what I just stated right now, coming from 1 John.
Yeah, definitely. I know you came from 4:8, and further down it kind of gives, I guess, more of a defining perspective for a Christian or follower of God. In verse 16 it says, God is love, and whoever abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. It says God is love, and all who live in love live in God, and God lives in them. God is love, and he who abides in love abides in God, and God in him. So it kind of like is repetitious, but it's giving us perspective that our stance and our perspective of love has to be paired with God and his love, his character of love, and how that's defined, right? We see that expressed in what he did on the cross, right? It's one sacrificial act of love for our sins, right? To wash away our sins. And he died for the world, right? It's a sacrificial love. So definitely just to kind of put that in perspective, to go along with what you're saying. And then you were going to say something?
No, I was just agreeing with you. I was going to say that it really makes you recognize that if you don't know who God is, you can't properly love.
Right. Not in our own right, in our own understanding.
Because we can easily be like movies, they tell us how to love, like you got to buy the flowers and be romance, right? Like I was saying. But God really says that if you don't know me and have a relationship with me, you'll never know how to love. Yeah. We can know how to like treat people to a certain degree, right? Cultural norms, God says that he's already written the laws on our hearts. So we all have a conscience of like right and wrong and how we should be treating people. We know like punching people in the face is wrong. Like anybody, even my son who's 2 years old can know like me punching a person in the face, that's bad. I don't even have to teach him that.
Right.
He knows that that's bad, right? Like lying and cheating and all these things are wrong, right? And these are acts that they don't show love. They don't trigger anybody to feel love when you have those things take place. And so for when you read in 1 John, and that, like, pretty much that whole chapter touches on God's love and how he loves us and why it's important. And it's just to say that he who does not love does not know God. Like that's a very, very strong statement to say, like, you can't have it right without God. You can't properly love or fully understand what it means to love unless you understand God's love and you accepted God's love.
Right.
I think that's another big point in this as well, is learning how to accept God's love. And once we accept his love, then we're able to produce love and give that same love to other people.
Right. Right. And it's important. So my opening statement, specifically to define the perspective, right, in my personal experiences, real love in my personal and relational experience is rooted in compassion, sacrifice, selflessness, and truth. But like you just said, right, in that scripture, it kind of puts both hand in hand, and it actually kind of just encouraged me, right, that we can't properly love if we are not in complete relationship with God, right, and understanding what that relationship entails. And if we don't have a relationship with God, then we obviously, it says that we don't know God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So literally, and obviously we're coming from the biblical perspective. We're talking about those who've accepted God's love, right, who've professed faith in him. So this perspective is solely based on our relationship with God, and then through that relationship, literally experiencing his love for us, and obviously going back to his sacrifice on the cross. I mean, it's a lot to, obviously we can go a little deeper, right, than that. But I guess I would add to that, right, I guess since we're on that kind of plane here, right, where it spills over from our relationship with God, and then us having that proper understanding of his love through our expression for each other and for others, where Romans 13:8 kind of explains how, as a Christian, as a follower of Christ, it explains that, and starting in verse 8, it says, "Let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another, for whoever loves others has fulfilled the law." And then it continues down in verse 9. It says, "The commandments: you shall not commit adultery, you shall not commit murder, you shall not steal, you shall not covet, whatever command there may be, are all summed up in this one command, and it is to love your neighbor as yourself." And then verse 10, it says, "Love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law." Right? And just kind of flowing with that in our relationship with God, giving it context in Romans 13, and how us as Christians, right? If we call ourselves Christians and that we're following God, even as hard as it may be, right? It may be challenging, but it literally says the only thing we owe to everybody else, to others, right, in this life is love. The problem with that, right, in our own nature, is that we think that we can take it upon ourselves, and now we can play God and start laying down, like holding on to, jealousy or fears and pains, and now we want to justify situations. That's why we don't love this person, right? They hurt me X amount of times, or they did this to that to me. We start justifying that. little side note, right? I had a conversation with a family member recently, yesterday, and they were like, man, I'm not gonna go to so and so's family function. I'm like, oh, why not? And they never show up to everybody else's. And I'm like, I get that, right? That's a real thing, right? People, I don't know why we get caught up in that stuff. It's so, oh my gosh. But to kind of go hand and really give that context, right? I had to share my heart on that. I'm like, you know what? Life is too short. And if we look at it from the perspective of, man, just loving and supporting the person, right? That family member that invited, right? They took the time out to invite you out. And obviously we don't spend enough time with each other already. I'm like, God forbid, God forbid his life is short. Something happens. It's like, why look at it from that perspective? Just go in there and love that person, right? I'm just like, man, let's show up and support. Right. Go, show up to the thing and love that person.
We make love conditional. No. We make it
conditions, right? It's all conditionals, and then we want to justify things. It's like, man, I know that we're not perfect at it, but man, can we try and make the effort? Because as people, we got to grow, and we have to grow in God's love. We have to grow. The only way we're going to do that is step forward, right? Take the step, love each other, and owe debt. There's not a person out there that I would say, man, I hate, man, I love. Just because the Bible's perspective tells me, right, out of my relationship with God, that, man, I'm to owe love. That is it. Like, I don't owe jealousy or holding, pain or hurts. It's like, I just love, dude. Just love.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that I've taken away from our friendship that has been encouraging and that has been in the area that I look up to you at is in how you love and how you're forgiving. It's something that, man, I struggled with for so long, like forgiving people. And it was so easy for me just to cut people off. Yeah. I had so many people when I was younger just leave and then just like never come back. And so I built up this wall, and it was just like, all right, you too? All right, peace. Like, there's more people around. And so I take my hat off to you for how loving and forgiving you are, and just being able to like keep your composure and really just process things and doing things, man, because love, man, covers a multitude of sins. And man, you're a living witness to executing and living that out. So I definitely, man, you've been a blessing just to me and watching you and grow in this area, man, as we've been friends for so long. We're almost 2 decades, man. And so that leads me to this, man. Let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4-8. This is one of the very popular verse. A lot of people, you see these on some cards and everything like that you can buy inside the store, Walgreens or whatever. It says, love is long-suffering and kind. Long-suffering and kind. It does not envy, does not parade itself. It does not puff up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own. So it's not selfish. It's not just about itself. Right? It's not provoked, thinks no evil. That's a big one. Thinks no evil, does not rejoice in what is this? Iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. Yeah. That is such a powerful verse. And sometimes you read this like, man, I can't live up to that, bro. Like I just thought evil things like 2 hours ago. That dude cut you off. That dude, you driving about your business, and the dude cut you off. You like, all type of evil thoughts start flowing through your head. And so I don't think this verse means like that those things have never happened, because we're humans and we have emotions and feelings. But this verse is like, when we live in love, this is what it looks like. And I think the biggest aspect of this is we see this being displayed is in marriages, and then obviously like close friendships, right? It says love is long suffering and kind. Now this is a big one because ain't nobody trying to deal with no sufferings.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that off the bat. Like our world, they not about pain. They not about suffering. They not about any of those things. And when those things come, man, we out.
Yeah.
But like, look here, E. Look, man, I love you, bro. We cool, but man, I don't know if I could suffer with you on that one, bro. Look, man, deal with that, and then let me know when you come through.
Yeah.
And then let me know how it works out for you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, love will be like, hey, man, look, I'm struggling with this, man. I'm dealing with this, or I got this situation going on, and it's tough situations. And love will be like, well, let me come alongside my brother and let me help him. Right? I might have to endure some of that suffering with him, but it's for the greater good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think probably a big thing is finances, right? Especially now, gas prices, a whole nother bill.
Yeah.
You tell somebody like, man, I want to kick it with you, or man, I'm going through this, but look, man, I ain't got no money for that. Yeah. And that person be like, yeah, I feel you. I ain't really got no money neither. But they got a couple dollars they can spare. They ain't trying to meet you or help you with nothing. Hey man, look, bro, can you find me $20? And that take this poison food that I was gonna buy, that take that out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want to bear the financial burdens with other people. So what other parts of this verse, man, that are really important? It says it does not envy. Envy's a big one. That's one of them real like secret sins that don't nobody want to talk about.
Right.
They
always got like a form of it.
They be secretly like jealous for a minute. They just be watching you in the cut like, got the new car, huh? Yeah, whatever. He ain't gonna pick me up though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He ain't take me for no rides in this new car. I think he doing it.
Yeah.
Just
one of the biggest ones? You go ahead, bro. Finish up. I want to add something.
Oh, no. So I was just envy. What's this other one? Does not puff up. That's another big one. All this puffing up, man. Like just going through life, bigging yourself up all the time, making yourself look better, and in the process, belittling your brother, or belittling your wife, right? Belittling your kids because you constantly put yourself on these pedestals, right?
Yeah.
It says this is probably a real big one, but rejoices in the truth. It's a lot of people that I had a lot of conversations with that they don't want no truth. And we're talking about truth of like, there's facts and then there's truth, right? A fact can be like, man, I feel like punching this dude in the face. But the truth is that I'm a child of God and that I should love him. And even when I don't want to, because of who Jesus is and things that he's done for me, it's just it's an example. But this verse is so many illustrations, so many things that we could dive into.
It gets difficult for the sake of often see the world trains us to think that reality is truth, and that's training us to be conditional. Not to say that we ignore, right? I mean, sometimes there is reality, but then we have to line that up in what is true, right?
Yeah.
Reality is, for instance, right? For an example, I fight my wife, right? I have an argument with her. I may not, we might not see eye to eye in that moment. That's a reality, right? But is it true that I hate her? It's not true. But our feelings, right, and our emotions want to tell us otherwise. And then we want to base how we love this person now based off the conditions of what's going on. But the reality is, we love each other. We got, X amount of years in this, or we got kids or no kids, but we truly love one another. We're in love, and we just didn't see eye to eye in that moment. So what then, right? Do we base our decision to love this person based off what we think, right? The world will tell you that's reality. You need to leave that fool, right? Like, leave that girl, right? You can just go on to the next one, because if it's starting off like this, or whatever the case may be, right? You just hear all these different perspectives and different advice you get, right? But then you put it in context when you're able to sit down and slow. A lot of things comes down to defining what love is, and love should be based off the commitment you made, right? It's a relational commitment you made, and it's not based off conditions or some set of a reality that an occurrence that happened. Just because you and your wife got into an argument don't mean that it's over, and that means they're never gonna change, and they just weren't seeing. No, we're also flawed. We make mistakes, but real love will tell you that it's important to forgive, right? And if you're basing your decisions off of truth, right, which I opened up with, right, defining what real love is rooted in, right? And I mentioned truth, and the truth is that it's important that if I love this person as much as I say I did, then I'm gonna forgive them. Obviously, we meet halfway, right? We come to the table, willing to work on some stuff, right? Obviously, but the reality is, man, it's not the world to try to train us to think that reality is truth, and that's not true most of the time, right? Go ahead. You were gonna add something to that?
Now, I was just gonna sum up this part with this verse, and just talk about, just to bring this home. We talk about love. So what is love, right? When I can do all these things that we just talked about in spite of my feelings, regardless of what someone else's actions are, like, that is love, right? Talking about 1 Corinthians 13. I do not feel love when I'm angry, when I'm impatient, right? I'm seeking my own way, to believe the worst, like this verse says. But when I deny these feelings and I rejoice, the long suffering, humble myself, like bearing with someone, enduring all things, that is true love, right? Love lays down its life. That's what love is. And so that's what we're going to get into. This verse right here, John 15:13 says, greater love has no man than this, than to lay down one's life for his friend.
Yeah. And I'm going to pair that with Proverbs 17:17, that I was going to mention that, right? It says a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. And it opens up, right? Verse 17 and Proverbs, and it says a friend loves at all times, right? It doesn't specify or kind of bend the rule, only when it's convenient for this person, or only loves when you're on good terms, or whatever the case may be. It says love at all times. I may not be at the right, and that may not be on the best terms, but based on the perspective and what the Bible tells and shows us how to love, it says that we're called to owe and to love people at all times, right? Especially our friends, those close to us, right? But in general, everyone, right? And it gives us that directive. And the world will tell you otherwise. It'll tell you to base it off conditions, right? What have you done for me lately? Right? I'm not going to hit this person up because they haven't hit me back up. We were supposed to go somewhere to a game. He canceled on me 4 months ago. Therefore, I'm not going to invite him to this game 4 months later. Like, come on, man. But we're all guilty of it, right? We've all had our issues, right? But we're striving to truly live out what love the unconditional love that God defines. But I'll go ahead. I'll let you kind of give your take before I define the 4 types of love, right, that are defined in the Bible. I got an article from C.S. Lewis that I want to go ahead and go through before, after you give your take on that.
No, go ahead, bro. We could dive right into that article.
Okay, cool. So this is C.S. Lewis. He describes the 4 different types of love that are in the Greek, right? They're biblical Greek definitions of love. And so the first one, hold on one second. So these are the 4 Greek words for love from a biblical perspective. And it says the storge, the first one is the first storge type of love. It might also be called an affection or familial love. So a love you would have for a family member. It says this word isn't actually used in the Bible, but the concept is there. It says storge is based on familiarity, right? So you have familiarity with people, you have that type of love for them. Man, I know this person for 10 years, right? Or family friend, or your family member, obviously. That's the type of love that this is kind of describes. And it says a person will love their family regardless of whether they are people the person would be drawn to otherwise, right? I could testify, right? Not everybody in your family is your cup of tea.
Yeah.
But you love them anyway, right?
Difference between liking somebody and loving somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
So it describes that family members often have nothing in common except familiarity and blood, but we love them, right? So that's the type of love that storge love describes. The second one is eros. That one's a little bit more familiar. If you've been in church, sometimes it comes up, but this one describes more of a romantic love. And it says eros also isn't a word that appears in the Bible, though it plays a major role in a lot of the Old Testament problems. It says eros encompasses sexual and romantic love and is the root word of the English word erotic. It says lovers are often completely preoccupied with one another, filled with eros. So that's the love, obviously, you can only share when you're on that sexual, romantic type of love, right? Only if you're married, then you know what you're talking about there. You know what type of love you share with that. So obviously, in the romantic level, that's the type of love you share within a marriage. Now, the philia love is a friendship love. It says this word is used in the Bible, and it says to the ancients, friendship seemed the happiest and most fully human of all loves. Philia occurs when the bonding over similar interests, whereas lovers are both preoccupied with each other. Friends are both preoccupied with the same things. It says friends, of course, care about one another, but it is similar interests. It is similar interests that attract them to one another. It says philia is the opposite of phobia, literally meaning that those experiencing philia are drawn to one another. So it's the one that you be drawn to a friend, and then you have that bond, similar to the type of love we have, right? We had that strong friendship love. We're drawn to one another because we have the chemistry. We have a lot of experience with one another, growing and raised together, right, in our later teenage years, all the way up into our adult years. So
that's the type of like the love that we see with David, with Jonathan.
Yeah,
right. In the Bible, I know some people be trying to twist it up and talking about they were like homosexuals or something. Like I need to cut that out. Read your Bibles. Stop playing.
So the last one is the agape love, right? This is the one that I hold to my heart. It says that the agape love could be defined as charity. However, we often think of charity nowadays as giving away money or things. It says, which doesn't encompass all of what agape is about. It says agape love is unconcerned with the self and is only concerned with the greatest good of another. It says agape isn't born just out of emotions, feelings, familiarity, or attraction, but from the will and as a choice. Agape requires faithfulness, commitment, and sacrifice without expecting anything in return. So it's the highest form of love. I have it tattooed on me for a reason, because I believe in it so much, right? That sacrificial, unconditional love, right? It requires faithfulness, commitment, sacrifice without expecting anything in return. I think that's the ground and the foundation for any relationship in the world, especially for marriage. So those are the 4 different types of love, and I know you want to dive into what you were going to mention.
Repeat those back real quick one more time, just for the listeners, so we can get some clarity. Just what the word is and what it means.
Yeah, storge type of love is the love you would have for family. Eros type of love is the romantic and sexual type of love that you can experience. Philia is the friendship love, and then the agape is the unconditional highest form of love that obviously is selfless and doesn't expect anything in return.
Sacrificial,
yeah.
That's really what I wanted to keep us at when we talk about the sacrifice, and how we should be with each other, right?
Yeah.
Like God, obviously the most popular verse, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever will believe in him will not die but will have eternal life. It was a sacrifice that he made. When Jesus came, he didn't need to do anything. He willingly laid his life down. Like, nobody took it. Nobody like, hey man, we finna just go kill Jesus. Like, everything that he did, it was for a reason.
Yeah.
And it was to show us that he loved us. And so how do we display that same sacrificial love to other people in this world right now? I think this is such a big thing, because we live in times where, man, we're so selfish. We don't want to sacrifice nothing. We don't even want to sacrifice a little bit of gas to travel to somebody's house to hang out with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, we'd be like, well, I ain't got that much gas, but then we'll go do something else. We're not willing to make ourselves uncomfortable. It's a big thing, on being uncomfortable for the sake of others.
Sacrifice, yeah.
And that could be in our marriages, with our spouses,
across the board,
with
even
our kids,
with your children, yeah,
right, with friends, whoever it is. Like, a lot of times we don't want to inconvenience ourselves, right? And so we look at Jesus, Jesus inconvenienced himself.
Yeah,
he was in heaven chilling, right? He ain't have to come down, but he came down here, and it was hard for him. I think some people think, like, because he was God, that it was easy, but it literally says that he sweated blood.
Right.
Like, Jesus at that point in time was dealing with so much anxiety that he sweated blood, and he even prayed, man, if it's your will, like, take this cup from me, because he knew what he was about to endure. But all in, he said, now my will be done, but your will be done.
Yeah.
So we think about that. Like, let's just dive into some marriage, right? I know you love to talk about marriage, and this is probably, if we can get this right in our marriage, it'll trickle over into all of our other relationships. But I think it starts, number one, it starts with our relationship with God. Sacrificing sinful desires. You know what I'm saying? The things that we want to do and how we want to do it, to doing things God's way. So ultimately, that's the first sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
For us men, summertime Chicago, lust, right? Women everywhere, half naked. I had a friend tell me, Puerto Rican parade just happened. he's trying to get to his house, and they got the streets blocked off, all the side streets blocked off, police not letting nobody through. And he literally was getting into a whole altercation with the police, but right then and there, he's waiting. A whole bunch of girls come, surround his car, and they just start twerking. They just start twerking. He said he's hitting on the corn. He said he had to like repent because he was yelling at them and cursing them out and like, hey, y'all got to get up out of here. I'll run y'all over.
Oh my goodness.
It's like 11 o'clock at night. But
only Chicago, right?
Only Chicago, bro. Puerto Rican parade. Don't come to Chicago for the Puerto Rican parade. Listen, do the nice one. Do they still do like the floats and the actual parade, or is it just like Humboldt Park? It's a big party.
I think in New York, yeah.
So they don't do the, because I know they used to do the parade where it starts downtown and then it goes through the neighborhood and all that. They don't do that no more?
You know, I should know this. Maybe you want to pull my Puerto Rican card, but honestly, I try to stay away.
The real Puerto Ricans are in New York.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was the last time I went to one of these parades, man. I was in my younger teenage years, man. Especially just recently, last year, right? A couple got killed. Just trying to enjoy the parade. I mean, obviously, I think it was some gang-related thing, but I stay away from that. So, yeah, I don't know the answer to that, if they still hold that. But
well, I mean, anyway, we probably we'll find out next year. I guess it already came and went. But you know, back to the point is that like we have to learn to kill these urges, and it's a sacrifice for me to give up my desires in the way that I want to live. But because I love God, I'm going to choose to follow and do things His way.
Right. And
that's all where it starts. So it could be your job, which is probably the biggest thing, is our jobs, chasing this money. Listen, if I can work 7 days, I'm work 7 days, man. They giving out double time on that 7 day. Sunday, I know we got church, but look, man, I ain't finna go to church because I got to get this money. Right? We're not willing to make that sacrifice and be uncomfortable because we want to get this money, and man, God understands. He knows that I need this money. I got to get it. And a lot of times it's just us in pride, chasing our own desires, and being really led by the flesh, going after these things.
Right.
And so if we're not sacrificial, we lack compassion. It's another big one for people. We see Jesus having compassion for people, feeding them, taking care of them. He showed empathy with people. Jesus was so humbling, bro, that he loved people so much that he was even washing the disciples' dirty, smelly feet, bro.
Yeah.
Like, ain't nobody washing no dude's feet. Like, I love you, dog. You my brother. You know this, but I ain't washing
you. Wash these feet, man. Look, man, the Bible said you need to come wash these feet, man. You ain't
washing your feet, bro. You been playing ball and running around, doing all this stuff with the kids, bro. You might just go ahead and holler at your wife.
I got good hygiene, so I'm confident.
She got you, though. She got you.
You get up all in between and everything.
Nah, good hygiene. You still can have some dry skin, cutting up my fingers and stuff.
Nah, I ain't doing that.
But I think, man, we need to embrace the sacrificial aspect of it.
Yeah.
Just on a larger scale. Here in America, these churches, like, there's a lot of churches not willing to sacrifice as far as like money and serving the community in the proper fashion. Doing life on life, like real discipleship is just life on life, one-on-one with people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just ain't willing to do that. They ain't willing to take the time out their day. They're not willing to make the sacrifice. And we see Jesus make that sacrifice in so many areas of life, with his disciples, with feeding people, blessing them with food, just going out his way, and then even sacrificing his popularity. He wanted to tell people the truth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Telling people that, hey, listen, if you're not willing to deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me, then you ain't worthy to be my disciple.
Yeah. And
them understanding like what a cross meant. They knew Like the cross, that means execution. That means persecution. That means pain and suffering. What you talking about? Telling people, calling the Pharisees, telling them who they were, right? The vipers, man, like y'all not for me, y'all hearts are wicked, all those things, knowing that people ain't gonna like that.
Yeah.
But he was willing to do it. And he did it in love. And so that's the biggest takeaway. And it's something that I'm continuing to learn and to grow in, is making sacrifices, right? To and not just making sacrifices for sacrifice sake. Like I'm gonna just go give all these homeless people all my food and my refrigerator, like nothing like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do I show love to people, right? And love is sacrifice. It's an action word. It's gonna cost you something when you really love somebody.
Yeah, I was gonna add to that. So you left off on a perfect note, because I often say this when I'm talking about marriage, because it's the second biggest committed relationship that you will have to experience in life, right? The first one being who you're gonna serve, right, in God. The second one's gonna be in your marriage. And I often say, actually, I wanted to be one of my next tattoos, that love is a choice. It's a daily choice. And this is what the agape type of love defines love as being, right? The highest form is an agape love. But how do we achieve that, right? Because we know that we are creatures of habit, right? And sometimes we can get comfortable with our form of love that we were given as kids, right? That form of love that we were accustomed to, right? Just based off familiarity, right? Back to that other the other type of love that's based off of familiarity. We can get used to that. Man, my father showed me love in this way, or my mom showed me love in this way. Well, the way my father showed me love was that he provided for our home, but he was never home. And then we get accustomed to that, and that's what forms our love. And my point to this is that that this type of love has to be worked on. And I want to come from the perspective of Romans 12:2, where it says that we are no longer to conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? Then you will be able to test and approve what's God's will and what is good, pleasing, and perfect, his perfect will, right? I think that by experience as a Christian, or just if we want to talk about the worldviews, the world's perspective or view on love, it often is by influence, right? And I use that. I'm kind of bringing everything together, if you can follow me. But I'm going to use a side note, right? Me and my wife are watching this marriage show. It's called Married at First Sight. For anyone, anybody out there, any fans of the show, let us know. But it's a show, right? I don't have any issues with watching any of these women's shows or any of these type of shows. I'm kind of infamously known for that.
Eddie wrote the book, The Notebook. Eddie wrote that movie.
Yeah, no. But nevertheless, man, you hear, right, these couples get paired together, right? Married at First Sight. Basically just these counselors or whatever, they take statistics and they try to get a background of you, these two different people, and then they try to pair these couples up, and then they get married on the spot at very first sight without knowing each other. But they're going based off trusting the counselors and what they know based off your character traits and all these different things, right? Your background and what you're looking for in a spouse. Nevertheless, you hear these counselors sit down with these couples and give all this type of advice. And then you hear these couples, right? These people that are trying to obviously look for love and marriage. They come from these different perspectives of what they feel and think that love is. And then my point to this is that in order to have the true definition and define love in your life, you have to go to who created love. And right, I've mentioned this many a times in our different episodes, where we wouldn't take my Samsung Android phone, we're not taking that to the store, to the iPhone store, right? Because that's not who created the software. That's not who created this phone. They wouldn't know left from right, right? They wouldn't want to know because it's not their product. And to that point is that if we're looking at the biblical perspective of love, we're going to go to the one who is love, who defines love, express love, right? And then he defines it not only by how he lived, and he gives us the relational expression of what his will is in it. And what I'm tying in Romans 12 is that we have to renew our mind. It has to be a daily choice to define what love is in our lives, right? And I often do this with my wife. Every single day. I tell her I fall in love with her. It's my choice. It's my choice to choose to love her, right? It's my choice to love the unlovable, right? If my kids acting bad or whatever, right, I'm still gonna love them. And then when you go further, right, if you're renewing your mind in that, you're gonna seek and define what true love is, right? So if we're dealing with a situation where the character of what truth and love is, right, you're not only going to just say, oh, I love you anyway, because the world these days is defining love to be in a general sense. No, God is love, so he accepts homosexuality. It's like, no, we're defining love based off truth. So what is truth? We're going to go back to the creator, the one who created it, the one who says he's love. Let's see what he has to say. What's the perspective of it? How should we approach this? Is this true? Should we love this? Is it, it's sin. So there is obviously, we can't love something that contradicts truth, right? Mm-hmm. Not to say that we can't love a person that is dealing with, right, that decision or made that decision to live that lifestyle, but we're gonna stand on the side of truth and say, here's the line, and this is why.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, man, in this world right now, we get all these definitions. We get movies and fairy tales played in our mind, and we think of Romans 12. It says, don't conform to it, right? Renew your mind daily. Even in this, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, we watch these shows and it's easy to get caught up. Easy. Like I'm listening to this woman one of the girls that got married, and she's saying, she's like, well, I just don't feel he loved me because the guy went out and didn't even tell her he was going out or whatever. And he just literally had an emergency. He was taking his dog to the vet or whatever. And she was like, no, but I defined that as him not loving me because he didn't communicate. He didn't text me that he was leaving the house.
Yeah.
And she went on a rabbit trail and left the house. I'm just like, man, but for the average Joe, right? For the average Joe that don't have their own definition of what true love is, right? They're gonna say, that's gonna influence them and say, she's right, man. That was and to an extent, obviously, we're gonna say that's insensitive, right? Or that's you got to communicate those things, but nevertheless, those things can form and is shaping this world right now, right? And that's one of probably a small little tidbit of many things.
Oh, I hear so much, like, not to pick on the women, but I hear women say it all the time, like, well, if you don't love me like this, or I want to be loved like this, and if you don't do that, then you don't love me. Or they even get like upset and say you don't love them even when you're apologizing. Like it's something that you're working on, something that you genuinely struggle with, and you're trying to overcome that, and then you do that thing that you're trying to overcome, and you're like, I did it again. You know what? I'm sorry. Forgive me. And they're like, you don't even love me because you keep doing the same thing. How many times I gotta tell you? And it's like, I'm literally confessing to you that I'm sorry. Yeah. You know that this is a struggle for me. I'm trying. I'm getting help. I'm trying to be accountable in this area. Like it's something that I struggle with. And I'm sitting here apologizing, and you don't even want to accept it. And it's like, I don't love you. If I ain't love you, definitely wouldn't be here apologizing to you. We wouldn't be having this conversation right now. I'd be out, bending blocks, doing my own thing. But it's we've the movies play a big role in it. It's a lot of these big movies that like really you just put that in there, and it's like, this is love if you do this or you do that, and it has
if you don't feel the flutters, if you don't get the
butterflies, jitters, if we didn't make eye contact when you first walked in the room,
right,
all that real gimmicky surface.
If you're not attractive, that's a big one too. If you're not attractive, I don't think I could be married to you. That's another topic that comes up on that show. That's just hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously you're not going to date or try to marry an unattractive person.
The person that you're not attracted to. Right. But I think that's where the interest of even talking to somebody is, because I'm attracted to you. So now there's an interest, and then you see what happens, and then it goes from there. But yeah.
There's so many other things, right? Like you were just saying, chapter 13 of Corinthians explains that love is patient. So, and this is, I'll tell on myself, right? I'm a very hard lover, right? I love to love, but in that we can lose patience, and then we force our impatience on our spouse or a friend, right? And then it also says in the same chapter, it says that love is not self-seeking, and it doesn't demand its own way, right? But once we lose our patience, we almost want to force that on the other person and force them to have the same experience and definition of love that we have, or the same level of love that we understand it as. And it's like, man, we have to be so patient. Like, and I think of these things often, like, man, we still got so much room to grow. But again, that's back to that point where I was saying it's a daily thing. It's renewing your mind in it, right? You want to be willing to grow and love and apologize for not being patient. And sometimes we want to demand our own way because, dang it, it's been X amount of time and you still doing the same stuff. Well, glory to God, you still here saying sorry, and we still gonna work this thing out, right? And that, back to that point of what love is based off of, right? And agape love is based off commitment. It's looking for forever. It's committed. It ain't going nowhere. That's the problem with this world right now. It has a conditional love that's so impatient. It says, I think it's easier to fight to flight. I would just want to run from this and seek the next. It's like, dude, anything worth having, right, is worth fighting for. One, you're gonna use a cliche phrase, but two, man, it's hard work. It's hard work to obtain a true definition, right? To define that in a relationship is hard work. And I guess that'll be the final point that I may have is, it takes work, man. It's a daily choice to love, and how we define that, like we said, is going back to the creator of love, the one who is love, and that's Jesus Christ himself. And that's how we would handle our situations and circumstances, and how love is truly defined, and carry that out in every decision we make, right?
Yeah, definitely good stuff, bro. You pretty much said everything that I was gonna say to sum this up. I was gonna talk about that there's no exceptions. There's no, this person doesn't deserve it. Again, Jesus laid down his life for us, the ultimate sign of how much he loved us.
That's so good.
And no one has ever been less deserving than we are of that, right? To love does not mean to agree with someone's sin, to say that everything that they do is okay, but rather it is to bear with them, right? To pray for them, right? To have faith for them, to want the very best for them. It is an action in spite of how we feel, right? Then I can come and I can have a natural dislike for someone, to have a genuine love from them. Like I can go from having a dislike for someone to having genuine love for them, because when I recognize what Jesus did in order to help someone and turn them from things that can be harmful, I need to be able to give them like advice or correct them, but only when I do it out of genuine concern for them. It's not to just say some things just to say it, or to like put myself on the pedestal, or so like I'm trying to conform them to do something that I want them to do, right? Everyone that I meet, it should be a sense of drawing them to Christ. Everything that I tell a person, it should be to lead them to Christ, right? Love is what draws people, right? It to having a real relationship with them, or showing genuine love. It's not about like, oh, that person got some nice clothes on, or that person got his hairstyle is nice, or he smells good, or whatever it is, right? Goodness, kindness, meekness of the heart, patience, and understanding. How can someone feel drawn if their experience with me is I'm impatient, I'm rude, or I hate, etc., right? Whatever it is. So if I feel that I'm lacking true godly love, then I can pray to God. I can ask him to show me how to gain more of it. I need to be willing to give my own self-willingness, right? I need to be able to think about others before I think about myself. And that leads me to this last verse that I'm going to share. And it's, and now abide faith, hope, love. These three, but the greatest of these is love. And that's 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13.
Amen. Yeah, and that binds everything together.
Binds everything together. That's the place that we have to get to in our heart, is that love draws people in, right? How is the way that you the way that you care for others? It could be even a form of a form of salt. You know how the Bible says that you lose your saltiness. Like, don't lose your saltiness. Like, your salt, it's flavor. What kind of flavor are you giving out to the world? People come around you. Do they feel love? Do they feel like, man, this person is genuinely cares about me? Or is it just like, are you just putting on like the Christian face? Or are you just putting on a face? This could be for the people who aren't Christians. How do people recognize you and say, oh, that person loves? I can truly sit here on this podcast and I can truly say that when you come in contact with Eddie, you're going to feel love. Like, when you walk into his house, he's going to serve you, right? He's going to greet you with a smile. He's going to embrace you with a hug, right? He's going to sit down and make himself available, and he wants to talk to you, right? Get to know you. Those things are genuine about him, right? You genuinely care for people. I remember when, this is the last story I'll share, the homeless guy. You know, the homeless guy that you helped out, he was by your old job. You always seen him. You always talked to him. Yeah. And you brought that dude to your dad's house, let him take a shower, got him some clean clothes, fed him. I thought you were crazy. And like, literally in that time, and I was like, still 1 foot out, 1 foot into my faith and all this other stuff, right? And I was like, he's just bringing this homeless dude to his dad's house. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Dude was homeless. Like, he was for real homeless. He smelled bad, all these things. And Eddie is serving this dude with a smile on his face, just with all the hospitality. And I was like, he for real with it. Like, I think about that. Like, now I thought about this story. I was gonna bring it up.
I forgot about that.
But it's like, that's literally showing people the love of Christ. No matter what condition they are, whatever walk of life they come from, are you willing to make yourself uncomfortable, right? A person might smell bad. being around somebody that don't smell good, that's uncomfortable, right? Are you willing to be uncomfortable to serve others, right? Are you willing to buy somebody some food or cook somebody some food, bring them into your house, let them sit on your couch, right? Are you willing to do all those things? Pray for this person, right? Share the gospel with this person, right? From all the way from downtown. Like, it wasn't like he was up the street, like some dude I seen on my block. Like, that dude, Eddie, you seen him downtown and brought him all the way to the northwest side of Chicago to serve him. Like, that is a really good example of what love on display. That's what that looks like. And so, man, I again, I'll say it again, bro. I've always looked for you as an example of like love in those areas. It's a place where I grew up a little different, so I've learned to like be hard and not show that. And man, whatever, they got to go do their own thing. But like I just said, man, all these things, when we think about Jesus and how he loved, it should automatically trigger something in us to be like, well, the way that I love and the way that I view love, if it's not measured up to Jesus and his standard of love and how he did love, then I'm doing it all wrong.
Yeah, praise God, man. I appreciate that. I'll take that as encouragement, because sometimes you just live life, man. You get busy. You often think to yourself, man, am I doing enough? Or, you know what I mean? Like, you always try to be critical of yourself, but definitely an encouragement, and I appreciate that. Praise God. It's all for his glory. But yeah, definitely. I do recall that, and that is right. That's how us as Christians, and we see that all through the Gospels too, and how Paul and Peter talk about the churches, right? And it says that they were known for their love. They were known by their faith. And I share that, and I express that with my kids and my wife, right? I just say, like, one of the goals is for us to be known as a family of love, right? It's like, just like in the Gospels, it says, oh, you're known in this region, or you're known, you were known by,
they will know you by your love.
No.
Talking about a different verse.
I forgot what word it uses, but it opens up. You know how it opens up in the Gospels, like, dearly loved, like, brothers, we love you, and we've heard about your faith across this region, or we've heard about your love. Yeah. Right? He's talking.
That's how Paul opens up.
Paul, right? Because he's talking from jail, right? And when he was held in there, and he's talking about how, man, I've heard of your faith, or I've heard of your love, and it's like, man, every time I read that, it gets me. It's like, and I express that to my kids, to my wife, like, how awesome would it just be? Like, people talk about you, like, man, their faith though, man, that family right there, they got faith, like, like, and that family loves, and that their love, it's like, but nevertheless, man, yeah, definitely awesome to be able to dive into, the biblical perspective of love, and what that defines, what that looks like in a world that is trying to redefine that. Especially definitely. You see it in the kids, right? In schools, you see that being trying to be redefined. You see that across the board, even in friendships, like, cut them off, or there's like all these different notions that people have, like, oh, you should cut that. Obviously, there's some wisdom that you use, right, for certain people you shouldn't have in your life, right? Like the Bible says, right, that what is it? Bad character.
Bad company corrupts good character.
Bad company corrupts
good character.
Corrupts good character, and it's like, obviously you use wisdom, but you see that played out throughout the world, man. And we're in a critical time where we have to truly define what love is, who love is, and how it's supposed to be played out, and how we're making our decisions, whether it's circumstantial or relational. it still should come down to love. And it obviously, it would, in these days, right, you think about where it says, and these three remain, faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. Literally hits my mind like the things we're going through in the world, right, where there's a lot of segregation, or you see all this crime and all this, man, if we just get the concept, it says love is the greatest one of these, it will literally answer a lot of these different things that we're going through in the world. And I know we can jump on that and get deep on that, but the Bible, it says it clearly for a reason. It literally, if we had the true definition of it, we played that out, and a lot of these circumstances that we deal with in the world that are going on right now, it would literally answer and help heal this land. But
definitely,
again,
yep, yeah,
you know,
it's deep, bro. We could talk about it all day till the cows come home, bro. There's so many examples. Love is a big topic, and so, but I think we did it justice, and just breaking up these things and just keeping Jesus at the forefront. You know, when we talk about love and what it looks like, we should always revert back to God, the one who is love. That's the one that we should be imaging our life after, and
Creator Himself.
Yeah, we should be going after that. And so, that being said, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been kind of a long episode. We had a week off, but we came back. We want to talk about a lot of things that have been taking place. So we appreciate you guys for spending your time with us. Like this podcast, man. Hit that like button. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that download, hit that share button on both platforms. Send the link to a friend. Like, we thank y'all for all the support. We gonna continue to need that support. We trying to catch the algorithm. You know what I'm saying? We trying to, you know what I'm saying? We trying to get up in there.
Subscribe, y'all.
You know, drop a comment below. We're also open to critiques. Anything that we can do that you guys feel we can do better on, drop it in the comment, man. We'll love to read about it so me and Eddie can talk about it. And when we start preparing these episodes, man, we want to keep those things at the forefront of our brain, because we want to do this in excellence. And so we're continuing to learn how to do this, learn ourselves, our strengths, our weaknesses, and we're just trying to grow, man. And we're trying to go from glory to glory in this thing, amen. And so thank y'all again, man, for rocking with us. Until the next one,
love y'all.
My name is Darry. That's the Puerto Rican Poppy, Eddie. It's been real, y'all. It's the real perspective. We out.
God bless y'all.